Hi everybody, it's Crystal. Welcome to my channel. So today I have a tutorial for you. This is a hot pad. Well, I made it a hot pad. You can do whatever you want with it. Actually, it's kind of just like a square for, you know, whatever you want to use it for. So you can see it's made with puff stitches. Isn't that pretty? It's like half, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a puff jasmine stitch. If not, I have a tutorial on it, but it's like kind of like half of one of those. It's made kind of the same way, but it's easy. Don't worry about it. It's easy. So, what it is 1, 2, 3. Row 4 is the repeat row. So once you get to row 4, you can just keep repeating it and make it as big as you want it to be or as small as you want it to be. You can quit, you know, whenever you want, and sew squares together. You can make whatever you want with it, you know. It's cool though. So it's nice and thick, so I thought maybe this would make a good hot pad. Probably not a pot holder because, you know, it does have to have holes, unless you wanted to line it and then line it or something with some cotton or, you know, line it and then sew two together. I don't know, something like that. So, but otherwise, I'm just saying that it's a pot holder, or you could use it as whatever you want. Make it bigger and use it as a placemat or set something on it, you know, whatever. But whatever you choose. I'm going to tell you the size of mine, and then I'm going to show you how to do the rows up into the repeat row, and then you can make it as big as you want. Mine is 9 inches, so it's like 9 by 9 because square here we got going on, corner to corner, 11. Nice. It's very pretty. So the yarn, it's got 3 different colors of yarn in it. The yarn used for this tutorial is a Lion brand 100% superwash merino. It is a lightweight number 3. So I used a 3-way for this, and I did use a superwash merino, and I am going to be using it as a hot pad. Reason being, superwash merino, it can withstand like 3 times the temperature of cotton. So I think it can withstand temperatures up to about 1200 degrees. Cotton's about 450, but cotton is fine too. I mean, cotton is fine. You take something out of the oven and put on some cotton, that will work well. That's only if you're using it as a hot pad. But other than that, you know, that's what I use. You can use whatever, you know, make whatever you want with it. Use it for whatever you want. Like I said, I'm just labeling it as a hot pad because I'm going to put it in my kitchen. All right, so the amount of yarn you need really kind of depends on what yarn you're using. You don't have to use a 3-weight. You don't have to use a merino. You can use whatever weight and any fiber that you wish. This probably took, though, I don't know, 200 maybe and 50 yards. I don't know, that's a guess. 200 yards, something like that. Anyways. So let's begin. I'm going to make another one, but I'm just going to be using orange and yellow this time. All right. And for my 3-weight yarn, I'm going to be using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. Remember, you can use any yarn that you want and any weight that you want, and use this square for whatever you want. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start out with a slip knot on our hook. All right. The stitch might seem a little fiddly at first, I'll be honest, but once you get it down, it's very easy. And if it takes you a few tries to get it down, then it takes you a few tries. Just don't give up, because you'll get it, and then you'll be flying through it. And you can really make some cool stuff with this. All right, so we're going to start off with a chain of 3. There's 1, 2, 3. We'll go back into that first stitch, slip stitch, to form a ring. Just like that. And then we're going to chain 1. All right, so now we're going to work a puff stitch. Now the puff is worked a little bit different with this type of stitch than like a normal puff. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and go through the loop, the ring that we just made, and draw up a little bit tall 5 times. All right, so that would have been number 1. So we're going to do it again. Yarn over, go through, that's 2 times. Again, yarn over, through the loop, that's 3 times. Yarn over, through the loop, that's 4 times. Okay, one more time. We're going to yarn over, go through the loop, draw up. We did that 5 times. Now we're going to pull through all the loops, but the difference is we cannot let our main yarn go all the way through. So all I do to prevent that is I just stick my finger right here like this. It holds this main yarn back, and then I grab the main yarn with my hook and pull it through all the loops like that. And it's okay if it's loose because we can tighten it up. So now we have pulled the main yarn through, but we also have it back here. Now we have to take our hook and grab that main yarn off of our finger like that. And it's a little loose, but all you have to do now is pull your main yarn and it will tighten up those loops like that. And now you can see you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through 1 loop, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2 loops like that, and then chain 1. There we go. Now what we have to do is a double puff. All right, so let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to be working in the first puff right here in this spot that's kind of on top of that puff. So pull up just a bit, yarn over, and go into that spot and draw up a loop 5 times. That's 1. That's 2. 3. 4. And there's 5. But we can't pull through all. We got to do another puff. So with all these loops on our hook, we're going to do a puff through the center of the ring. So we're going to yarn over and go through the center of the ring and draw up a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is 5. Now we got a crap ton of loops on our hook. Now we need to go through them all, but we can't let our main yarn go through all the way. So I just put my finger right there. Then I grab my main yarn and I pull it through all those loops like that. And there we go. And then I take my hook and grab that main yarn off my finger. And then you can give it a little bit of a tug and pulls it tight. And you got 2 loops on your hook now. Take your main yarn and pull yarn over and go through the first loop, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2, just like that. That wasn't so bad, was it? Now this time we're going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and that is one of our corners. So what we're going to do is the same thing that we just did. We need to do it where we have 4 corners. All right, so we're going to do yarn over and go through the center of the ring 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is not a double, this is just a single. So go ahead and put your finger there, and then grab your working yarn and pull it through all those loops. There we go, in that chain, just like that. And then grab that working yarn off your finger, pull it tight. You got 2 loops now on your hook. Yarn over and go through 1, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2 and chain 1. All right, so now we have to do the double puff again. Okay, so it gets worked right here in the spot, this little spot right here above this puff. So we're going to yarn over and go into that spot 5 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Now we need to leave all those loops on our hook, and we have to go through the center and yarn over 5 times. So I yarned over, go through the ring, draw up a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and there we are with all those loops on our hook. It's okay. Put your finger here to block that main yarn from going all the way through, and then grab your main yarn and pull it through like that. And then grab your hook and take that main yarn off your finger, pull it tight like that. 2 loops on your hook, grab your yarn and go through 1, and then grab your yarn and yarn over and go through both like that. Now this is the corner, so we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. Now we have made 2 corners. You can slide them over if you need to. So we're going to do that again, and then again, and that'll be that. All right, let's do it again. So we're going to do the yarn over 5 puff through the center of the ring first. So I yarned over, going through the ring 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Okay, this is the single puff, so put your finger there because we don't want them, you can't let the main yarn go all the way through. Grab your main yarn and pull it through, and that chain there that's on your hook, there we go. And then take your hook and take that main yarn off your finger, pull your main yarn tight, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through the first, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2 and chain 1. Now we're going to do the double puff. All right, so the first one goes right here in this spot, this little spot right here. Yarn over 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we got to keep these loops on our hook, and we got to do the yarn over 5 through the center of the ring. So yarn over, draw up your yarn through 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now we got to go through, but we can't let our main yarn go, so put your finger there and grab your main yarn and go through all the loops just like that. Then take that main yarn off your finger, move your finger, and take your main yarn and pull it tight there. Tighten it up on your hook. And we got 2 loops. Yarn over and go through the first one, and yarn over and go through the remaining 2. So this is the corner, so now we have to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. You can slide that over if you need to. All right, one more time. One more time. Let's do it. So we got to go through the center 5 times. So yarn over, drop a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. So this is a single puff. So, but we can't let the main yarn go through. We can never let the main yarn go through. Put your finger there, and then grab your main yarn and pull it through, including that chain there. And then take the main yarn off your finger with your hook, pull it tight, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 1, and the remaining 2 like that. And then we're going to chain 1, and now we have to do the double puff in this spot right here above the puff that we just did right there. So we're going to yarn over 5 times through that spot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Keep these on your hook, and we got to do the yarn over 5 through the center of the ring. So I yarned over, and I'm going through the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we got to go through all these loops. So put your finger there, so you don't so your main yarn doesn't go all the way through. Pull through. Grab that main yarn off your finger, and then you can pull it tight on the hook. Okay. Got 2 loops left. Yarn over and go through the first one, and yarn over and go through the remaining 2. Pull it tight again after that. And now you need to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's count. We got 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th corner. So all we need to do is slip stitch right here. So here's our first puff right here. Slip stitch right here in this spot. And that, I'm going to change colors of yarn. So I'm going to tie this one off. Look at that, row 1 is done. Don't worry, it gets easy. It gets easier. It gets easier. So all you want to do now is kind of pull that tight, and then your circle, you can close it by pulling the tail. Look at that. We did it. We did it. That's actually a jasmine stitch right there. We did it. We did it. All right. So I'm going to kind of, it's easier if you just kind of take your hook and weave these in and clip them as you go. Otherwise, they really get in the way of your puffs. So let's just take them. That's what I do. I just take my hook and kind of pull them through all my things a few times. And the same with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then we'll hook up another yarn. Pull it through like that. You know, do it quite a few times so it doesn't come undone. But it's best to hide your tails after each color change, because otherwise they're kind of like in the way when you're trying to go through all them loops and whatnot. It's just easier to do this. So yeah, go ahead and just hide these real quick, and then we'll start on row 2. And I hope that you don't mind, my video was a little long. I'm going to try to keep with you the whole way through. I don't want you to get lost at any part, so hopefully you don't mind that. You can always fast forward though if I get annoying and you get it, you know, you understand that you can just fast forward me to the next row. All right, get these tails hidden, and we'll go ahead. I'm gonna put we'll start a new color, and we'll start row 2. All right, so we've done our center, and I know it looks different here, but it looks better the more rows you put on. Now we're gonna do the second row right here. So no double puffs on this one. It's actually just, all right. Let's go ahead and start our yarn. Now normally when I change colors, I don't start with a slip knot on our hook, but let's go ahead and do that. This time for this particular puff stitch, we're going to start with a slip knot again on our hook to switch colors here. If you don't want to switch colors, you would either have to slip stitch over to the next chain space, or where you slip stitch, just work back. And no, if you don't want to switch colors, you'd have to somehow slip stitch over into your next chain space, or just tie off with the same and start with the same color. I would do that, because otherwise the slip stitches are not going to look very good. All right, so we got a slip knot on our hook, right? Now we're going to start in any one of these chain spaces here. And we're going to pull our yarn through, and then through that slip knot that's on our hook, and pull it tight there. Get it all situated. Okay. All right. So we're going to be working those same types of puffs, but we're going to be working them through this chain space, and we're going to need 5 of them. All right. So we're going to start off with chain 1. Doesn't count as anything. So let's do a puff through this chain space. So that's where we yarn over 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, put your finger there so we don't go all the way through. Grab it, pull it through, and then grab the one off your finger. Pull it tight. My tail out of the way. All right, got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first one, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2, and you pull that tight again, and then we're just going to chain 1 like that, and then we're going to go back through, and we're going to do that again. So no double puffs here. No double puffs right here. So we just want a total of 5 of these puffs in each one of these chain spaces. All right, so let's work again. We're going to yarn over, drop a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your finger here to block your main yarn. Grab your main yarn and pull it through like that. Take the main yarn off your finger. Pull it tight like that. Yarn over and go through that one loop, first loop on your hook, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2, and then you can kind of pull it tight again. Chain 1 this time. All right. Let's do it again. We got 2 loops there, or 2 puffs there. We need a total of 5. All right, yarn over, go through that same chain space, drop a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your finger there to block your main yarn, and then grab your main yarn and pull it all the way through. Take it off your finger. Pull it tight. Yarn over and go through 1 loop. Yarn over and go through the remaining 2 loops and chain. Before you chain 1, pull that tight. And then chain 1. All right, 3 puffs. 3 puffs. We need 5. Let's keep going. I'm hiding this tail as I go. So let's do it again. Yarn over and go through the same spot. Draw up 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your finger here, block it off, go through, take it off your finger, move your finger, pull it tight. See, it becomes really easy. Pull it tighter, yarn over and go through 1 loop, yarn over and go through the remaining 2. Again, pull it tight and chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 puffs. One more. Slide them over. We gotta fit 1 more in. Yarn over and go through the same space. Drop a loop 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your finger there so your main yarn don't go all the way through, and then pull it through like that. Take the main yarn off your finger. Give it a little tug. 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first one. Yarn over and go through the remaining 2. Pull that tight. So we have 5 puffs now, right? That one's finished. Before we do anything, I'm going to clip that yarn, because it's just going to, the tail of our beginning, it's just going to be in our way if we don't. All right. Now, since we're jumping on over here to the next chain space to do the same thing, we're going to work a chain 2. 1, 2. And let's jump on over here and do this exact same thing that we just did here. 5 puffs with a chain 1 in between them. Yarn over, go into the space, draw up a loop 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finger there, go through all those loops and that chain there. There we go. Take it off your finger, give it a tug, yarn over and go through the first loop, and yarn over and go through the remaining 2, and then pull it tight, and then chain 1. 1 puff down. Okay, let's do it again. Yarn over and go through, draw up a loop 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your finger there, pull through, take it off your finger, give it a little tug, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through 1, yarn over and go through the remaining 2. Before you chain 1, pull it tight, and then chain 1. So now we got 2 loops there. So we're just going to continue this until we get a total of 5 loops. I was going to say with you, but I think you can, or 5 puffs. I think you can do that real quick. Pretty easy. 5 puffs through this chain space. All right, so we got 2. I'm going to go ahead and finish my remaining 3. Remember, yarn over and draw up 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. And give it a tight tug and chain 1. There's 3. There's 3. I'll just go again. Let's do it again. Yarn over. This will be our 4th puff. Drop a loop 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think what people find intimidating about this stitch is this part here. They think that maybe they get it too loose, not knowing that it's very easy to tighten up. Mine's really loose, so I just grab it off my finger. See, it's real loose now. But you just tug it a little bit like that, and it tightens up. Not, you know, not extremely tight, but it tightens up a bit, and then yarn over and go through 1 loop, and then yarn over and go through 2, and after that, you can tighten it up the rest of the way like that. And then we need to chain 1. We got 4 puffs. We need to put 1 more puff into that spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finger there, pull through that. Give it a tug to tighten it up a bit. Yarn over and go through 1. Yarn over and go through 2. Tighten it up. Now we got 5 there, so we are finished with that chain space. So now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2, and we're going to jump over here to the next chain space, and we're going to work 5 into that one. And then when we're finished with those 5, we're going to chain 2 and work 5 in the remaining chain space. All right, I think that you can you guys got this. You guys got it. All right, just 5 puffs in each of the next chain spaces. Make sure you put a chain 2 in between. Just like that. So there's 1 and chain 1 in between each of the puffs. All right, I'm gonna finish that out real quick and I'll meet back up with you. All right, so I'm coming to the end of row 2. I just did my 5 puffs in my last space. So you want to chain 2 after that last puff. And we're going to end by slip stitching right here into the side of our first puff. And I'm going to tie this off and switch colors. So I've already tied it off, or clip my yarn. And I'm going to take it and weave it in the back. Because like I said, it's easier to get them out of the way. And have to have them in the way. Okay, now I'm going to bring in for row 3. I'm going to go back to yellow again because it's easier to see, I think, than the blue would be. All right, on our hook. And we can start in any, if this is round 3, we can start any of these chain spaces here that you want. So go ahead and pull your new color through that slip knot like that. Okay. And we're going to chain 1 and we're going to work 1 of our puffs through this space. So we're going to yarn over and go through the space and draw up a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we need to make sure we don't pull our whole piece through like that. Grab it. All right, pull it tight. All right, and then we can chain 1. Now we're going to be doing a double puff. So we're going to work in the top of this one, and then we're going to work into this chain space right here. So we'll begin our first puff, right here at the top of this one. So yarn over and draw up 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now with all those loops on our hook still, we're going to jump over to the first chain 1 space in between the first and second puff. We're going to yarn over and go this right through that space and do our puff. Yarn over 5 times. That's 1, 2, there's 3, and there's 4, and that's 5. Now we got to go through all these loops, so put your finger there and go through all the loops, and then put that back on your finger just like the other double puffs. Pull it tight, yarn over and go through that first loop, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 2, pull that tight, and now we are going to chain 1 like that. And now we're going to do another double puff. Okay, so we're going to go back into this spot right here. So we're going to pull up, go into that spot and make our puff. So yarn over 5 times. That's 1, 2, this is 3, 4, and here is 5. Now that next one, we don't put it in the next chain space. We put it on top of the middle puff. So right there's a middle puff. That's where we're going to put the puff. So we're going to yarn over, not in the next chain space, but in the top of the middle of the 5 puffs. And we yarn over and draw it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we have to put our finger there and yarn over and go through all of those loops like that. And then grab that, pull it tighter, yarn over and go through 1, and then the remaining 2, pull that tight like that, chain 1. Okay, so that right now, that corner puff is kind of the corner of our square. This is half the corner. So now we're going to make the other half. So now in this spot right here, we're going to make just 1 puff. So we're going to yarn over and go into this spot, drop a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, excuse me. Here is 3, 3, 4, and 5. So just 1 puff there, and pull it through like that. Pull that tight. Okay, so when we do the corners like this, it always starts out with 1 puff. Now we have to do 2 puffs again. Okay, 1 right here on top of this 1 puff, and the other one right back into this same corner spot. All right, so let's do it again. We're gonna pull up and do the double puff. All right, yarn over and go to this spot 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then come right back down to the same corner, yarn over, go into it in 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're gonna go through them all. Just like this, just like normal. Pull that tight, chain 1, and there you have created the corner. All right. All right, so we're gonna do a double puff. So right back into the spot and into this last chain space here. All right, let's do it. Yarn over and go into this spot 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to yarn over and go into the last chain space here, this of the set of puffs 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, and then we're going to go through them all. Through 2, pull it tight, chain 1. And then we're going to do another double puff through this spot right here in this chain space. So yarn over, go through this spot here, yarn over and draw it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down here into this chain space, this big chain space between the sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we need to go through all of them like normal. Pull it tight and chain 1. And now we are at this set here, so we're just going to do the same thing here that we did over here. Don't worry, I'll do it with you. Let's do it again. So we're going to double puff in this spot right here, and then into this first chain space between the first 2 puffs right here. So yarn over and go into this spot 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then yarn over and go into the first chain space 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and we're going to do our thing here. Pull it tight, chain 1. We're going to double puff again, and we're going to do it in this spot, and then it will be in the top of the corner puff right here, the top of the middle puff, because we're going to create our corner again. Okay, let's begin. Start our first puff right here, yarn over and draw it 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and we're going to yarn over and go into the top of the middle of the 5 puffs. No chain space, the top of the puff, and draw it 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's do our thing again that we do. through 2, tighten it, and chain 1. All right, so we're at a corner, so we have to do a single puff here to help us around the corner. So we just do 1 puff right there first. So we're going to yarn over into the spot, draw up 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're just going to do him by himself. Chain 1. Now we got to do a double puff right here into the top of that single puff, and then back down here in the same spot as we just did this last puff. All right, yarn over, go into the top of this puff, draw up 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a yarn over and come back down into the same spot, that same middle puff, and yarn over and draw up 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do what we do here. 1, go through 2, tighten it up, chain 1, and there is our corner. So we've gotten 2 corners made, and that's what we're going to do it again. We're going to do 2 puffs, one right here, and the other one is going to be in this last chain space in between the last 2 puffs here. Down here into the space. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to go through them all. Through both. Tighten it up. Chain 1. Nice, looking good. Yeah. All right, then we're going to do the same thing that we just did here and here. We're going to do the same thing here and here. I'll do it with you again. Let's do it. So we need to do a double puff in this spot and into this chain space here. And then down into this space here. That, and then we gotta go ahead and lock it off. Pull it tight, chain 1 like that. Just like that. And then we're going to do a double puff back into this spot and into the first chain 1 space of this group. Come down here into the chain 1 space. That, tight, chain 1. Now we're going to do another double puff back into this spot here, and then into the middle, top of the middle puff right here. Let's do it. 3, 4, 5, and then all the way over here into the top of the middle puff. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we go through them all like that. Sorry about my dog. Like that. Pull it tight, chain 1. So you got half of the corner made, so we got to make the other half of it. Alright, so now to form the rest of this corner, we have to just make 1 puff here. That's 3, 4, 5. Oh my gosh, I didn't grab it all. There we go. Like that. Chain 1, and now we have to do our double puff right back into the top of this single puff we just did, and then down here in the same spot as this puff here, and that will form our corner. So let's go into the top of this one with the puff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back down here into the same spot and do 5. And then we need to go through them all like we do. Chain 1, and there is our corner made. So we're going to continue to do the same again. So we got to do the double puff right back into this spot, and then into this last chain space here. Down here to this chain space. Chain 1. All right, now we have to go around our last corner here. Same way we went around the other 3. That's looking pretty good. All right, double puff right here and into this chain space, just like before. Chain 1, double puff back into this spot here and into this first chain space between the first 2 puffs. chain 1, double puff back into that spot, and then on top of the middle puff of these 5, pull it tight, chain 1. All right, so we're at the middle puff, we're at the corner, so we just got to do 1 single puff right here now. Chain 1. Okay, now we're going to double puff, starting in the top of the single puff, and then back down here into the same spot as the same puff down here. Pull it tight, chain 1. There's our corner. Okay, we're gonna do a double puff into this spot, and then to end this, and every time we end every row from now on, we have to end it with a triple puff. We always end it with a triple puff. All right, and that's what we're gonna do right now. All right, so going to go back into this spot here. It's the same thing, except for we're going to do it 3 times. Or 3 puffs. There's 3, 4, there's 5, and then we're going to come back down here to this last chain space between these last 2 puffs here and do 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, okay, I'm going to show you. This is going to be the triple puff. This is how we're going to end the rows from now on. It always ends like this with a triple puff. It's the only time that we do 3 puffs on the hook is at the end. So we have 2 right now, so we're going to do 1 last one, and it's going to go right there. So here's the very first puff we made, and right here is the one we attached to it. That hole right there, we're going to yarn over and go into that spot and do the yarn over, draw it 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not really hard. I'm just making it look hard. 5. Okay, now we do got a crap ton of loops, but we got to do the same thing. Go through all of them. Work kind of slowly if you have to. Of course, I get a yarn that splits for some reason. There we go. Once you got them all on there, do the same thing that we always do. Just grab that like that. Pull it a little bit tight. Yarn over and go through that first loop and pull a little bit tighter. Yarn over and go through the remaining 2. Pull them tight. And that row is finished. So we got to tie that off now. We did it! Yay! A triple puff's not hard. It's not hard once you get it done. But that's how we end every row from now on. So that is 1, 2, row 3. Now row 4 is the repeat row, alright? It's easy. It's pretty similar to what we just did, except for we're not working into any puffs anymore, into any of these chain spaces, alright? So we're just going to be working puffs, and we work the corners the same. All right, let me hide these tails real quick, get them clipped off, and then we'll go ahead and start the final row, row 4, which is the repeat row, which you can keep repeating it as big as you want the square to be. All right, so we're ready for round 4, and I have my color here with the slip knot on my hook. Now, every time we repeat round 4, remember round 4 is the repeat round, and you repeat it as many times as you want for as big as you want your square. We're always going to start in the same spot. We're going to start, so these are the little spots that we work in, right? We need to start 2 over from the corner. So this is our corner. You can see, if you look at your piece, you can see the little corner is pretty good. So that hole is the corner. So not counting that, you want to start, well, 2 over from the corner. 1, 2, right there. However you count it. This is the corner, so we don't want to start in this one, but this one. Okay, does that make sense? No matter what row you're on, you always start 2 over from the corner. It doesn't matter which corner, as long as it's 2 over from the corner stitch. So here's our corner stitch, our corner hole. 1, 2. This is the one we start in. So go ahead and put your yarn in that spot and pull it through the slip knot. Okay. Now, we always begin the same way. We chain 1, and we're going to work 1 puff in the beginning. So we're going to yarn over and go into the spot, and we're just going to work the 1 puff. All by itself. And we chain 1. Okay. Now we're going to work 2 puffs. So 1 right back here into the top of this one, and then 1 into the next little spot right here. And then in this spot. Let me do our thing here. Chain 1. Okay. I'm going to have to double puff again in that spot and then into the corner. Tight, chain 1. Now remember last row I said when we do the corners we have to always do 1 single puff after that. So we have done half the corner now. So since we're in the corner now we have to do 1 puff right here into this spot all by himself. Chain 1. Okay, now to complete the corner, we have to do the double puff back into the top of this single guy that we just did. and then back into the same spot as that we just did the corner in a while ago. All right, so you're on over and go back into him. And then back down here into the same spot. We go through all of them. And tie and chain one. And there's the corner made. That's how the corner looks. Now we can continue on. We'll be double puffing all the way till we get to the next corner. So we go back into this spot and then we go into that spot. And then we come over to this one. Go through them all. Tie, chain one, double puff again into this spot that we just made, and into this next empty spot here. We're going to do this all the way across until we get to the next corner. I don't know how many that was. I think that was 5. It's okay if it wasn't. Let me do our thing. Go through 1, go through 2, pull it tight, chain 1, double puff again, back into that spot that we just made, and then into the next empty spot. Ooh, no, 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 I'll fix that in a minute. That's what happens when you get to going too fast, I guess. Pull it tight, chain 1, double puff back into the spot that we just made, and then into this spot. And then we're going to keep doing that until we get to the corner, all right? I'm going to meet up with you at the corner. I'm going to fix this little mess up I did, all right? So just continue doing that, double puffing into the spot you just made, and then the next empty spot, and the spot you just made, and the next empty spot, and I'll meet up with you at the corner. All right, so I've come up to, as you can see what it looks like here, I've come up to the spot. Here is the corner. So we're going to do a double puff here in the spot we just made in the corner spot. Tie, chain 1, now remember in the corner. In order to round the corner good, we have to make one single guy by himself. So we'll just make one puff back into the spot we just made. chain 1. Now we're going to double puff in the spot that we just made here on top of this guy, and back into the same spot that we just, the same corner spot. Right back in the same spot. Tie, chain 1, corner is made. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way around. So now we would just double puff into the spot we just made and into the next empty spot. This spot right here. Chain 1 and repeat, double puff back into the spot that we just made, and then the next empty spot, and then double puff into the spot we just made and the next empty spot, and we do that all the way until we get to the corner. And when you get to the corner, you just make it the same way that you made your other two. So I'm going to continue around, and I'm going to meet back up with you. I'll meet back up with you after we finish out the, I'll just meet back up with you at the last corner. How about that? We'll do the last corner together, and then I'm going to show you how we end it. Because remember, we always start every row with 1 puff, but we have to end it with 3. All right? So I'll go ahead and I'll meet up with you. We'll do the last corner together and finish off this row. All right, so I've done the first half of my last corner. So this is where I have to do the 1 single by himself. Chain 1, and now we have to do the double puff right on top of that puff we just made, and then into the same corner spot that we just did the last one in. Down here in the same one. Chain 1, corners made. Okay, we have to double puff here and into the next space. When you have to do this, the double puff and then into the next space. Here, let me finish this one out. I think that was 5. Okay, you will do that until you have 1 empty space left here. And this, when you have this space empty, this is where we'll do the 3. All right. So It looks like we can do one more before we get to that spot. Every row it'll be a little bit, you'll get a little further over before you have to do the 3, because you'll be growing if you make your squares bigger anyways. And into the next empty one. All right, finish this one off. Now, if you look, we have one empty hole left. This is where we have to end with by doing 3 puffs. Whenever you get to where you just have one empty one left, you have to do 3 puffs. You have to do one in the spot you just made, one in that empty puff, and then one right here into this space. Because we just did this very first puff in the beginning by himself, and then these 2 were connected. So we need to go in that spot right there. That's how we end it. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Let me go down to this one. And then we yarn over and go into this space right here from the beginning and do our puff. This is how every row ends. And then we just do it the same way, but we're going through 3 puffs. And we'll go through 1, go through 2, pull it tight, and then we would tie it off here. You have to tie it off. And that would end that row. And there you go. Then you would just keep repeating that row for however big you want your square. So this row has 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds on it. And I'll let you know how big it is. This is a 6-inch square. That's a nice size square. So you could do whatever you wanted to do with it. Or you could keep going like I did with this one. And make it as big as you'd like it to be. That's choice is yours. You keep going, whatever you want to do. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. I apologize that it was so long. I just wanted to make sure that you know, I didn't want to leave you hanging at any time. So I'll see you guys on my next video. All right, take care. Bye guys.